Are you struggling with trusting God's timing for your life? Do you have things that you've been praying for and waiting for, and it just doesn't feel like it's ever going to happen? Let's talk about it. Sometimes it can be hard to trust God's timing. We have things that we've been praying for and hoping for, and we have been bombarding the gates of heaven, trying to force God's hand to make him do the thing that we want him to do. We don't call it that in Christian circles. We call that having strong faith. And we can sometimes move from this place of faith, from this place of expectation, into this place of demanding from God. And in this place of demanding, and we are struggling with waiting, with patience, we begin to question the timing of God. You see, we want what we want when we want it. And we live in a culture that tells us that you need what you want right now, that there is no waiting. There is no value in waiting. You need to be able to have access to everything you desire in the instant that that desire manifests. But in God's kingdom, that is not his way. As children of God, and as we learn to grow in relationship with him, we begin to learn and understand things about his nature and his character. And we also begin to understand that everything that God does, he does it for a reason. So if that thing that you've been hoping for, praying for, believing for hasn't yet manifested, then God in his infinite wisdom has a purpose for the waiting. When we come to understand that God in his omnipotent and his omniscient authority has the ability to see the end at the beginning, and that God himself does not operate within the bounds of time as we know it, then we can understand that God's timing should be different than our expectations. But that doesn't mean that our flesh is not having a fit waiting on God to manifest the things that we're praying for. But in this process of growth and spiritual maturity, there's another thing that happens. We then begin to understand the nature and character of God. And just as he always has a purpose for the waiting, with experience and maturity comes the knowledge that his timing is perfect. God sees the end at the beginning, and he knows exactly what needs to be produced in you so that you can honor him in the thing that you're waiting for. Because here's the reality. If we got what we wanted when we wanted it, I promise you some of the devastation we would create in our lives with immaturity, with lack of wisdom and understanding, with how to honor and to be caretakers of those things that we're praying for would be enormous. We would look back with regret, as some of us already do, with what we have squandered in the things that we have been given in our past. But this process of trusting the timing of our God invites us to do things in a different way. When we recognize that our goal in trusting God and in praying to God is not in us attempting to force God to align with us, but us simply coming into alignment with God. In the waiting, God is moving and working and doing things behind the scenes that we have no idea or understanding of. Because in his infinite wisdom, he has a plan that moves so far past our ability to understand. But in our frustration, in our carnality, we begin to believe that God's plan is not aligning with our desires. And so we start moving in our own direction, trying to create what we want rather than waiting on what God has called us to. When we are walking with God and we recognize and understand that his path is always straight and his plan is always sure, we can come into alignment with him without fear, knowing that where he leads me is exactly where I need to be. Acts chapter 17 and verse 26 gives us this picture of God and his infinite wisdom. It says, "And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth, having determined their appointed times and the boundaries of their habitation." In this scripture, we get an understanding that God, he has set things in motion that are so far past our understanding. But as we grow in relationship with him, we can understand that his timing is perfect. And when we choose to wait on him and to trust that when the thing we've been praying for manifests, that it is right on time, it frees us from the frustration and worry that comes with trying to force our desires to manifest. So the invitation is for us to trust the perfect timing of God. And when we grow in understanding of his nature and his character, it makes trusting his timing a little bit easier. God bless you.